What's up, everyone? Welcome to a special Star Wars Podcast Day 2023 Sarlacc Digest episode, I guess, if you will, to celebrate Star Wars Podcast Day. We are gathered here today on a Tuesday. This is not our norm, so everybody, we will be doing this again tomorrow. So don't fret. We got Bad Batch to go over and everything, but I think we're gonna have a fun talk tonight. So, with that, I'm your host Darth Moocher. I've got Scott Solo.
What's up, nerds?
The traveling man, Grand Admiral Franz.
Hey, everybody. I'm not traveling. The wife got mad at me, threw all my shit out.
I was trying
Sent you to Iowa.
Sent you to Iowa.
Sent me
Yeah.
to Iowa. Good
Finally.
Lord.
Yeah. And we've got Bootleg Joe.
Hey, yo.
And, of course, Ernie the Fallen Fett.
How you doing?
Hi,
how you doing?
we do, this is like a special presentation of our show tonight, but of course we do not forget our Patreons because we're going to shout them out every chance we get, right? So with that, Scott, I want you to get that list ready.
Not the ones who canceled those, Scott.
Right. No, I'm not talking about Justin
Don't
the
do it.
Vanilla Thunder tonight.
No.
I won't mention
Yeah.
his name at all.
No, not tonight.
I'm gonna donate on his name on his behalf just so he gets. Okay, yeah. So please shout out our Patreons to get us going.
You got it, man. Hey, thank you one and all to all of our Patreon patrons. We really appreciate you. Without you, we wouldn't be here on Star Wars Day, Star Wars Podcast Day,
very true.
podcasting to all of you. So thank you very much. And a special shout out, of course, to Matt Logic 44, our newest Patreon patron.
What's up, Matt?
Then we've got Eric Grubb, Nicholas Schaefer, Ryan and the Star Joes podcast, Cliff, Don and Brady of the Escape Pod podcast on the Red 5 Network, Flavy Davey, formerly of the Nerds with Attitude podcast, Don the Dad Dorn, Mervine, Gavin from the All Cure Holy Hour podcast, Brandon and Anya Epler, AJ from the Forbidden Panel, and of course our little buddy Fanboy Mike.
Fanboy Mike will be coming up in this conversation tonight, but
He will.
yeah, everybody, thank you so much. And of course, we actually have a live pit going on too. So we didn't
Yay.
think we would have a lot since this is kind of like a last minute show or an unscheduled or unfamiliar show for us, right? So thank you everybody
we
in the pit
scheduled
that's
it.
being, thank you everybody in the pit for being digested. So Scott, go ahead and shout them out too.
We've got Gordon in there. What's up, Gordon? We've got Skyrider, Lunar Girl's visiting us today. Hey, Lunar Girl, I hope you're
What's
feeling
up?
better. We've got Monique Alexandra. We've got the Science Fictionary, Megan Rickards, Gavin Connor. Let me see. Jeez, it's popping in there already. We've got Matt Logic 44, 80s babies in there. What's up, man?
What's up,
What
Dario?
up, Dario?
And
Hey.
Bootleg Joe, who's right below me. It's amazing how Bootleg can be in two different places at once. It's fascinating.
Nice.
Now,
Yeah.
now with the
So-
podcast day, right? Hey, with Star Wars Podcast Day, there were a boatload of Red 5 shows on there. I can't grab
A
the list
lot.
right now off of Twitter or
Yeah.
Instagram because I'm only on my phone right now. But
Yeah.
pretty much the at least half the lineups in there. So
Yeah,
if anybody
it's
has a
crazy.
chance to look up Red 5 and the Red 5 Network, go grab on the shows that are playing right now on Star Wars Podcast Day. After ours, of course, because we're the digest. You got to get through this first. But then
Right,
go check
exactly.
everybody else out too.
Yeah,
You make it
awesome.
sound like we're just gross. You got to get through us first
You
before
got to
you
get through us first.
Got to stomach us before you can get to the
We're
other
the
ones.
trailers
Damn
before
straight.
the movie. You got to sit through
Yeah,
it.
you got to eat
Um,
your vegetables first.
Yeah. Megan Rickards. Yes, for those curious about the history of Star Wars Podcast Day, there is a link there, so definitely check it out. We're here because of like the whole Star Wars Podcast Day. I think it's going on 3 years as far as like everybody getting together, hashtagging it up, and doing some sort of content, right? But I believe the whole history dates back, almost going on 20 years now of like celebrating Star Wars podcasts and like the first one. So yeah, definitely check that out. And so we're here. This is our first time participating in, or second. Did we do it last year?
Mhm.
I don't
First
see.
year.
It's been the first year. Okay. Well, yeah.
This is my 5th year. I've been doing
This
podcasts,
year,
so-
fifth year.
I've been at it for
Well-
20. Wait, I've been at this for 84 years.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I'm funny that you say that, Ernie, because you're the guy that we all met that had a podcast before. Well, before we met Scott, you had the podcast when Chris and I were just the moviegoers and standing in line and just enjoying Star Wars. And we did this kind of talk almost on the regular. Like every time we saw each other, we run the gambit. We'd sit there in line for other movies, or if we come to each other's house and watch Star Wars. This is what we did. It's almost like podcasting before we even knew it. That was right. And when we met, Chris and I, we had our set groups that we'd do these midnight premieres, and we met.
It wasn't just Star Wars; it was everything, right?
Everything
it was any Marvel
that we
movie, any Fox Marvel movie, the X-Men back then, and the Spider-Man, and everything we could possibly get our hand came out. We were at a midnight show when they did midnight shows, and
it was great, right? We would run the gamut. I mean, our topics of conversation would be like everything from DC to Marvel. Before Marvel was an MCU, I mean, we did it everything. It was great, dude. And I missed going to the theaters and doing that. Which we still do, but not
planning out Justice League movies, and we were planning out Avengers movies and other Star Wars stuff. We were planning it all out way back then, blind talking through it all, just like we do on the show now.
Yeah. 100%, dude. It's awesome. And I think it was Force Awakens when Star Wars was revamping itself and Disney bought it and everything. And we met up with Ernie and his guys, which was Joey and Fanboy Mike, were in line down. We were in line first, and they were like over in the corner, right? They had a little easy up. You guys had an easy up.
They didn't listen to me. They didn't listen to me.
Yeah, tell it.
I told them
Ernie,
to get there early. I had to be at work. And I'm like, you don't understand. There's always this group of jerks who come in beforehand and cut the line, and they're there. Like, we can't have that this year. If you guys want to do this, you got to be dedicated, and you're going to have to show up early. And Mike's like, oh, yeah, you got it. I cruise by work the first round. Nobody's freaking there. Are you serious? Come on.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I'm getting texts from Joey and Mike of, dude, there's like a group of people here. I know, because I told you guys to be there early, and nobody did.
It's those guys.
What ends up happening? All of a sudden, this tall dude with this large ass voice stands up and is like, "Oh, hey man, that's cool, but we got 99 in front of you." And
I thought he was playing.
Yeah. Joey's like, nah,
yeah,
funny.
good
And
one,
I'm like,
guys. Good
dude,
one.
he's not playing. He does. What? Yes. These are the guys that I was telling you about. Every time they're here before me, and they have this big old group that shows up mysteriously at the end. Well, that's not fair. I mean, they weren't here the whole time. It doesn't matter. They're going to do it anyhow.
Right.
They are.
Monique popping in there saying, I'll always remember seeing that huge group of people that came with Chris.
See?
So we had this caveat of like,
first, right? So we had a group of friends first that would do everything since the prequels, right? Since episode 1, we were doing stuff since Spider-Man, all of that, right? Then we all had kids, and with the kids, all of a sudden they have friends, right? And then we bring those. So now we have our group of friends plus the kids friends. And then I'm running a baseball organization. So I've got my older kids team. I've got my younger kids team. I've got a girls softball team. We've got a younger kids division. All these nightmare baseball groups. And Justin the Vanilla Thunder is one of my originals, right? He was there that day. And well, they're all in school, man.
Not be named.
Yeah, they're all. He shall not be named yet again. They're in school, That's what you do. So I get 97 chairs and pop-ups, and we put 97 chairs of pop-ups and blankets. You see all these right here, guys? These all represent a person.
We were trying to be courteous, right? Yeah, it's like we were trying to be courteous. We were like, hey, as Chris and I got there probably by 6 a.m, or whatever. It is the first time that we did it locally. We never did up in the high desert where we're at. We did kind of went on bigger theaters down in.
We did Marvel stuff up here, but never Star Wars. Star Wars,
right? Yeah, because we had to go down the hill.
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
Better presentation, better everything.
Right.
Yeah.
But then we have movie theaters up here.
Yes,
that were nicer and like that. So that was the first one. So we made the decision, because before that, I would see you guys in all those other years as well.
We
were
days
right, and I
camping
was
out.
Like, damn it! And that's what I was trying to tell Joey and Mike.
At the midnight showings?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It could be the Incredible Hulk. It could be whatever.
Right.
We're going to be at every theater. It was only the mall back then, really, you would go to,
Right.
right?
Correct.
So we would be in line at the mall. We'd be there almost as soon as they would open the doors and let us in, we'd be in there, right?
Yeah.
So it was just one of those things. As soon as they would let us in, and we would get clowned all day. Why are you here?
Oh,
There's only four of us. We're in line
people
for the
driving
Incredible
by.
Hulk. It was the Incredible Hulk when we really got clowned.
it was, yeah.
Really? And I mean, people didn't get in line till like 9:00. We were there since the morning.
Yeah. No, this is the time before assigned seating, so it's first come, first serve. You run into the theaters, get your middles aisles,
Right.
and then you go get your popcorn and stuff. But after, like we did camped out for 2 days for episode 3. I mean, camped out in the parking lot with asphalt tents and everything. I mean, it was great. But we did have the caveat when we saw you guys. Anybody who came behind us or whatever, we told them, so look, we put up all these easy episodes. There is a lot of us, but don't worry, a lot of them are the kids, and they're going to spread out. So they're not going to take like the center aisles and stuff like that for you guys.
The kids wanted the back rows. The kids all knew.
Yeah, they
wanted
the back rows.
Straight to the back. They want to fart around back there and smoke pot and do whatever. That's what they want to go do.
Yeah,
just kidding. They were like 10. They were.
There was none of that going on.
Here's Joey. Is this guy serious?
Yeah.
Serious. If I see Joe pace back and forth, I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I do want to bring.
That. Was it that one or Rogue One where somebody complained about my kids online?
Oh, probably.
It was Rogue One.
It was that
somebody
one too.
said that something about the coach and all these kids, and because we were all in the way and doing whatever at the Star Wars. I think it was Rogue One. Yeah.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, you want to tell me what happened, lady?
That's funny.
I didn't say anything like that.
Scott didn't join us until later, like years later. We didn't know Scott for a couple, or Chris knew Scott, but Scott had a podcast going on, and Ernie had a podcast going on. But we had no idea, like we had no thought of like this turning into this later on. But I kind of want to get the little history. So Scott, were you guys doing the lining up too, or like did you have that? Or
we were primarily a throw crap at the wall and see what sticks kind of podcast. We would do all sorts of different shows. It was the Nerds with Attitude podcast.
Yeah.
And out of the Nerds, it kind of it started from a group of G.I. Joe fans.
Yeah.
And we would podcast about G.I. Joe toys and Star Wars toys and all that. And we all lived so far away from each other that we never really gathered together to do a lineup at a movie. Yeah. If we all got together, it was, holy crap, we can actually podcast. This is great. And I swear to God, at any given moment, we had 8 people on mic. And it could be so unmanageable. There were times in which we would have 3 buffet tables lined up together with chairs. Each one of us would have a microphone, and get my buddy Kevin, he would be running the board, and it was chaotic to try and get it. Yeah, man, just to try and get a word in edgewise. You think it's tough talking over Chris? You should try talking over, 12 other guys at the same time.
Did you guys do lining up for midnight shows too?
No. Nope.
You didn't do that. Like
they weren't close enough together.
Yeah, we weren't close enough together. No, the first experience I had of lining up, back in the day, Julie, my wife, and I would go line up in line and stay there for hours. I mean, for episode 1, I remember the Krikorian Theater in Redlands. I got off, I called out from work, went down there, and I was number 1 in line, and friends would come and join up and all that. But so we would do our own little line talk thing. Gotcha. Never with the nerds.
Yeah, but it's so funny how like we all came from that school, from lining up and talking and line. We call it line talking because that's what we do. We talk in a line, a movie line, a Star Wars line, or whatever.
Or just stay in the parking lot throwing frisbees and ding dongs all night.
We did that too, and that's a true story. Gordon, we started with Force Awakens was our first one local, like the first Star Wars movie. Yeah,
the 97 people was the first time we went there, and then by the way, just real fast too, they got me back the next year, just because you're about to get into the history, right? Because Mooch kept in touch with Fanboy.
Yeah,
right? And I really didn't know that. I just mind my business, talk to Mooch about Star Wars, blah blah. I didn't know what was going on they're talking about. And obviously, he's like, hey, man, those guys from last year are going to be at Rogue One. I said, cool, man. Well, I said, tell you what, I'm going to be there at like 4:00. So tell them 5, just so I can get my spot because I'm a dick, right? So I'm going to do that. He's all cool, man. I'll tell him 5. So I get there and freaking Mike's there already. He got there at 3 to make sure
he learned.
Get ahead of me.
He learned.
He's
no dummy.
I got out and he was all cocky. I'm like, you son, I don't even know this dude. I was ready to punch him.
Yeah, it was funny. Like after Force Awakens, we did our thing and it was great. Like, I had known Ernie by acquaintance. Like Ernie and I were it was funny, like he was wearing a Boba. Our kids went to the same school for a little time period there, and Ernie was wearing a Boba Fett shirt, and I think I was wearing some Star Wars shirt, and we just locked eyes. And this was years before we met in line. It's just funny how like the stars align. Yeah, the stars align sometimes, and we have
Angels
this awesome
sang.
group.
You ran towards each other in slow motion with your arms outstretched.
It wasn't angels, but I'm pretty sure I did hear.
Exactly. Yeah, and so when I saw Ernie back to him, I know you, dude, and so we hit it off. And I don't think we knew that you had a podcast that day. Like, I don't think that was a thing. It wasn't even a mention. So yeah, I got Mike and I, fanboy Mike, exchanged numbers because we hit it off really good, right? Like when we were 14 hours in line, joking, laughing. I mean, we had like long lost friends, dude. It was a great. Stayed in touch with them because we had like 2 years, right, or a year or something like that. I think it was a year between, and a year between. So every once in a while, every 2-3 months, Mike would say, "Hey, what's up?" And I go, "Hey, dude, good to hear from you." And yeah, we're still planning on Rogue One, same theater, all that stuff. And I actually told because I think I told Mike like, yeah, get there at this time because we're gonna be there at this time. So he, I'm like, what's 3 seats? Like they're okay. We'll give them up 3 seats. We'll sit behind her or whatever. But you always got to give. It's all
freaking
about
Marco, man. There's a plan. Stick to it.
Exactly.
Well, and then that was my plan. I'm like, so whatever happens, dude. You need to get there like at 3 a.m. Like you understand what happened last year. And he's like, I know.
It's
like
true,
you saw
man.
it for reals because right, Joey? Because like you guys,
I didn't think he
couldn't
was going to
believe
do
it.
it.
Right?
Yeah, he was going to do it.
Right.
He was like, I'm not
saying Force Fridays too.
Yeah, Force Friday, absolutely. We would line up and see the same group of people because we were all toy collectors, and back when Force Friday was a thing, right? So but so during Rogue One this is so funny. Like we were talking again, we 16 hours in line, whatever, and this is how I found out that Ernie had a podcast. And I told this on your guys' Toy Migos show.
This.
So Ernie's in the theater, and Chris and I and our friend John, we got our seats. Again, we're still not together as a group yet. So Ernie stands up, and I hear Ernie saying, for all your, listen to Toy Migos or They're Not Dolls on Sound or whatever it was on iTunes or something for toy shows, whatever. And I was like, the hell? So I had my phone and I typed it in my notes. Okay, They're Not Dolls. Look it up, podcast or whatever. So that's how I discovered the Toy Migos and their, and John and Cheney and all them, and which was kind of cool. But I think it was Mike and Joey. Like we should do a podcast because we're here in line and the lines are so fun. The podcast would be our line talk, just sitting there BSing about pop culture and Star Wars and everything. And Chris and I were just like, kind of like, yeah, cool. What's a podcast? Like what's like I'm not into this. Like, well, I mean, not into it, but yeah.
What's funny is we always gather an audience just listening to us all talk about Star Wars or whatever it was that we were talking about.
Yeah.
We're just 4 or 5 guys standing there talking, and then we turn around and there's like a bunch of people just around us listening. So I'm like, hey. Well, actually, Mike's the one that came up with the idea. He's like, "Hey, what do you think about podcasting?"
No, you're right. When we start rapping just in the middle of a theater or in a parking lot, it gets crazy. A crowd does get there. It's a nerdy thing, but it does happen every time.
I've done that at Comic-Con. It's just something that you're comfortable with the people that's around you, not people driving by telling us to go F Darth Vader, trying us to go to life, right? I mean that was
the whole
episode
thing. 3.
That was episode 3. Yeah, vividly remember that. Yeah, but it just felt comfortable, felt right, But again, I had no clue what this was, but Mike and I we went. That's
it
when
was
we
a
started
hard
visiting.
sell to me. I was like,
it was. I told Chris. Chris was like, Chris is like, okay, sure. Chris was like, sure. So I met up with like Joey and Mike, and we were working out the details. Like, what equipment do we need? We're like, well, Ernie, let's get Ernie involved because he was there, and Ernie's got a podcast. So it was finding out what we need to do and all these things, and it was difficult because again, I
it's a lot.
Yeah, and then we told Chris was like, yeah, it was. Chris was like, I'm in. So the 5 of us were ready to go. I think that's when we all decided to go out there. We came up with a name. We came up with a plan as far as like bi-monthly, I don't even know how to put this out, like how to put a podcast out. You know what I mean? Like we found a streaming service. I think we still have SoundCloud, by the way. So all this is on audio, by the way, too. And it's been there for 6 years almost. So yeah, just fast forward 6 years just to get ahead of us. But there's been almost 6 years we've been doing this. So we think we found a little bit of a niche in our comfort zone. But yeah, it was really it was fun, man. Cause like we go, okay, the Last Jedi was 6 months away. And that's when we decided to do our first podcast. Went to my house. I think the trailer had dropped that day, the teaser trailer.
The height of excitement.
I mean, coming off of Force Awakens and
we're on the same page almost.
Yeah, everybody was on the same page, and it was really cool, right? Like
90.
Yeah. And then the Last Jedi trailer dropped, and that's when we decided to drop our first podcast. And it just kind of. I'll be honest with you. I was nervous every single time we started talk because I didn't know what the hell to do when we decided we're like somebody needs to run the show, not run the show meaning like a boss, but like someone needs to direct the conversation and stop our tangents and whatnot. And everybody just went, well, you could do it. And I'm like, okay, like I don't know how to do that. Like, oh sure, let's give it a go. But it was fun, dude. And we did an in-person podcast too. We were all in the same room at the time because YouTube was a distant thing. We didn't think
we
that
were
was
at Mike's house.
Yeah, we did. We went to Mike's house for a couple times. The first
and he
one
was bouncing on his exercise ball. Remember that?
So I'm gonna. So a
things
couple
I miss out on for not being.
Evil Leia
oh my god!
Oh my god!
Each of us
had the Evil Leia episode. Yes.
Guys, this is fun to reminisce because anybody out there who is thinking about doing a podcast or do it. Like it's a lot of fun. Find some group of friends that you really connect with.
We were not okay. We're pretty. I think we're pretty good now. Okay, we're pretty decent now. Back then we weren't. we were not great, but we had some cool ideas. And that episode with Dark Leia is one of the best episodes probably ever.
Yeah, it's funny. Like again, Ernie was the only veteran of our group as far as at that time doing podcasts, and Ernie. If anybody has met Ernie in real life, this dude is a spokesperson. He is comfortable. He's a people's person. He does no fear of talking, energetic. I mean, it's like the best
bitch man.
Oh God, yeah. Like when knowing that I had Ernie in our corner, I felt comfortable with it. I don't know how Ernie felt about our group starting out. Like, was it rough to hear? Because
it was a lot. It was, but it's also a lot to get us all together. And we were in the same room. I mean, not only that, we had Mike on an exercise ball. We had kids making food, people going to the bathroom, people walking by. It's like, oh,
Mike would get up and leave during the talking.
We're trying to stay dedicated here. What's up to you, everybody in the pit right now? Gordon, I see all your messages, and Gordon said, I was like on 5 podcasts. I was. Yeah, he was. Podcast was my thing. It was my escape at the time. So I was, and I would try and, have all these great ideas and keep everybody together. But I am that, though, exactly what you guys are saying, because I'm like, Mooch, you need to run it, though, because I just show up. I can show up and I can do my thing like I do now. And That is it. I'm trying to run
Yeah.
my own channel now, and that's
Yeah.
so much. Like, it's so hard. So I did have all that, and it was just the time that we needed to get all of us together and grow into the mold, like Chris is saying, is to get there. And it did take time, but I mean,
Absolutely.
we've come up with so much stuff and everything, but it's always just been such a great idea and such a good time and a lot of fun and everything like that. Because I mean, as we were doing that, and then we started at Marco's house. We had little meetings. We did the best that we could with equipment wise, and then Mike's house, and then we tried different stuff, and then we then started my house as well. Yeah. And then it was kind of a better meeting and like that. And we were jumping on everything.
Central location, man.
Correct. Then after later, when we could, and okay, we're going to leave the equipment here. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And it was, well, there's more, more social media had started and everything.
Yeah.
And we brought Scott along and everything. So we had
the phones up on tripods around the table.
We'd have to restart it after an hour.
I can't believe we did that. Like, we used to do a 2-hour show. We did a 2-hour show, and we did segments. So the first hour was whatever, and then the second hour was whatever. And then was it Facebook Live? Or no, it was Instagram Live.
Instagram Live was
only
just
an hour. So we put someone's phone, and of course I'm recording this separately. It was we took a phone and projected on us, and as the time ran out, we had to stop and then okay, we're gonna take a little commercial break, and and stretch. Then splice it all together. Splice it all together, and then pick it back up. But that was
when it was the height of the RLU too.
Right.
There were a lot of shows going on there too, so we would put an ad in even for them. Right, we had shows we had ads bumpers for different shows on there.
We had the bumpers in there.
Man.
We had
because that's what I was a part of. Yes.
We had the Nerds with Attitude commercial in there.
Yeah.
Dude,
the RLU is what I was a part of. That was the Raw Live Unedited Network, which Dario is still trying hard to keep alive and everything. That was that was Rich's dream, and I understood it. Was to have a central place to go to pick up all your podcasts. Not that they took anything over anything, but just a place to go listen, and you could click it, and there it was. And so we were there. We could all support each other. But then there was 15 other shows. So I saw the vision, and it did help though. I mean, it brought us listeners from everywhere.
Yeah, 100%.
And there was SoundCloud, RLU. Then there was Instagram Live that we tried. I mean, we've done it all.
Yeah, it wasn't until COVID where we're kind of forced to we still wanted to continue podcasting, and we were kind of forced to go mobile. And we said, let's do the YouTube full on. And like I was mentioning before, and I'm going to get to Scott here in a second, how Scott joined our fray and added another voice to us. One of the biggest
when we first started YouTube, it was real nasty too.
Yeah,
like it looked, our Mark interview, right? Our Mark Thompson interview is really rough.
Yeah, that's because he had a bad connection and we just rolled with it. I mean, but
he had a bad connection, but it was us too. Zoom was crap when we started in here, right? Till we
we did Zoom or Skype and Zoom. Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, we're garbage for this.
I told these guys, I'm even before podcast. I know this about myself and everything. I told them, I said, look, I'm the type of person, I'm an all or nothing person. If we do this, we're doing it. So I'm going to hold everybody to the feet to the fire, meaning every 2 weeks at that time, we're doing a show. I don't care who's there or not there. I'll do it by myself if I have to. I had to bring that in because I don't like when there's months and gaps and because, scheduling conflicts and all that stuff. And thankfully, all of us have really dedicated and put the time in and do it. But if anybody's out there, wanting to do a project, either do it or don't do it. I'm an all or nothing person. Schedule and be strict about it. I'm going to do a monthly, 2 months or whatever it is, and do it consistently. Consistency is key on every level.
That's ultimately what killed the Nerds with Attitude is we couldn't. Kevin is an audio guy, and he was really turned off by the idea of doing a Zoom or a Skype or a StreamYard podcast. So his requirement was, we want to do this. We're going to do this. Everybody's got to be here.
Yeah.
It's in Riverside.
I know. Well, that's tough.
I can't drop everything and go to Riverside. So it just got more and more sparse, fewer and fewer shows, and it just.
Well, fortunately, we all live in the same vicinity, same cities, and stuff like that. But then, like I said, once we nailed the YouTube thing down, we could be anywhere. Like Chris is in Iowa right now, hiding from his wife. So it's like,
yeah.
So, but we make it work, and I love it.
There's also a plus side to having a bunch of people on the show too. Like everybody wonders how we have 5 or 6 people on a show at a time. Well, it also helps out. Like if somebody's missing, we still have a crew, right? Like even if you're missing, any of us can jump in and host, and we have. You know, I mean, if we have to, it might not be as great. I mean, when I'm doing it, it's pretty damn good. But I mean, it's.
So you can think
we can always keep going. So if you're starting a podcast, you've only got yourself or only 2 people. Yeah. It does get rough if you can't either go into a solo show if your partner's gone, right? Yeah. Or if you can't do it. So that's really hard to stay consistent on that kind of thing. And to come up with topics on your own to bounce off. Hot Topic was easy in the beginning when I was always pissed off and going through other stuff and doing things, right? Really easy. But when you're happy and stuff, it's and if you're a happy person in general doing a solo podcast, that's really hard to do because you got to find something to bounce off and talk about every week.
Yeah.
So people do struggle by themselves. So there is people ask how we do this with a lot of people, and I think it only works this well because we have a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. Like the only time I miss if Gordon invites me out to a premiere of Lord of the Rings or something like that, and I'm like, right on, Gordon, you and me, buddy.
But there was I was at the local comic book store shopping for comics, and I ran into Chris, who I hadn't seen in a couple of years, and Chris says to me, "Hey, you do podcasts, right?" I'm like, "Yeah," staring, oddly at him. "Yeah, what do you have in mind?" And he's like, "Well, we're doing a podcast. You want to come over and be on an episode?"
Play?
Yeah, I want to come play. Sure, why not?
Yeah,
and I just never left.
Yeah.
So episode 6 of the Sarlacc Digest, I showed up and
you start.
It's our longest running special guest
since the mid-90s too.
Yeah,
I mean, it's we've known each other a very long time and very big geeks and into a lot of the same stuff too. So it was going to be a natural fit. So it was.
Lord of the Rings.
Like Ernie said, longest running guest ever.
Longest running guest ever that we've ever had. Yeah,
that's hilarious. Yeah, like we had that. I don't think we even had a discussion. It was kind of like Scott's joining us from Nerds with Attitude. It's Chris, a friend of Chris's, and it was episode 6 called Sarlacc with Attitude. Little play on the both podcasts, and I want to say it was either at Mike's house or Ernie's house on his haunted dining table. Yeah, Mike's house. I think the first one was.
Oh, the first one was Mike's house.
What? Yeah, no, it was Ernie's.
No, I thought it was. It was on Ernie's haunted dining table. I remember.
No, it was at Mike's house. That episode was at Mike's house. I remember because I did a Nerds with Attitude live stream from there. So.
Oh, okay, yeah. Mike's house, and we quickly squashed that, but you
can only take so many microwaves going at the same time while you're trying to podcast. It's
bless their hearts. Now that family is like, can you guys hurry the hell up?
Yeah.
Get this done. We need to pee. No, nobody's flushing for 2 hours. It's
thank God there was no video.
Things are starting to pile up.
It was all audio.
At the time, podcasts wasn't a very professional thing, right? Like it was podcasts where somebody in their living room talking about whatever subject, right? Before it became like a Hollywood production, like every Hollywood actor has a podcast now. Jimmy Kimmel has a podcast, even though he's got a late night show. It's like, this is our realm. Leave us alone, right? Let us have that background noise, the dogs barking in the background, and it's our stuff.
I have a problem with that too. I really do have a problem with famous people who already have their own TV show or radio show. Come on and doing a podcast. Quit eating up our time. Let the
leave us alone, man. Like I said, they've got money behind them, and
Really quick, Miss Sunflower, out of all the Star Wars podcasts I listen to, you guys have the best chemistry. By the way, I discovered you so late. I still don't know what Mike looks like and if he's the same person as Mando Mike.
2 different people.
Two different people.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Miss Sunflower. We do we appreciate our pit and everybody in there. Like our one of our main goals and mission statements is to get everybody in the conversation, not just us sitting in, talking to each other. We want to, interact. And because we do feel like this is a community and all Star Wars community. Like I always said, if you've never been to a Star Wars celebration, go. That's got to be on a bucket list for you. And to us, every time we do a show with other people in there, it is a Star Wars celebration for us. Getting in there, talking, and just losing ourselves in a galaxy far, far away. So we do appreciate that a lot. But yeah,
what she said in there was important too. Was the chemistry? She said we have great chemistry of all the Star Wars podcasts she listens to, right? And I think that's nice and a really great compliment too.
I love it. Thank you.
It's not always like that, right? And we've gone through ups and downs even as a group, and it comes through very well that we know how each other operate at this point. 6 years is a long time together.
Yeah,
that's family.
We're still
stuff,
friends.
I don't talk to a lot of my family that much. And and when we go through ups and downs and things, and it builds that chemistry, and we have it. And we have trust and stuff, and it's really neat. We kind of know what people will lean on certain subjects when something goes dark. I know Joey. I can wake Joey up. We're like, hey, let's talk. Dark.
Yeah.
If I want to argue, I'm going to go to Scott right here and just try to piss him off and start going. And get a rise up if we're in a lull in a show. I know what to do. I don't really make fun of Ernie because Ernie just has his shit together and Mooch. But.
Appreciate
the chemistry is fun.
That right there is our handsome Mr. Bootleg Joe with Mike. There's fanboy Mike right there. Look at those
two.
It looks like their engagement announcement.
Right, yeah, you don't want to know where Mike's hand is right there. So
what you didn't know this whole time is Bootleg Joe is a puppet.
Warm. Yeah, that's
trying to pose in there with it. Sorry.
Yeah, it's funny. Like Mike left the show because of work scheduling. He just couldn't make the scheduling work. It was just too rough, But he did make like the first 100 episodes. Like we're coming on 200 episodes here quickly. Within the next few weeks, but Mike was part of the whole, like I said, part of the conversation and the whole friendship that we built. So we always include him. I've told him before, it's like, just because you're not on the show doesn't mean that you're out of our circle. Like he's still in our chat. He's still in our get-togethers. We mention him all the time. He doesn't
get a split of the cash that we're all in now.
Done. I made him forfeit all that.
Kicked out.
Man, what is he gonna do without all those pennies?
So Papa Speed, that's a prom pose.
Yeah. What's up, Papa? I saw that too.
It was a save the date photo for sure.
If it was purple and white, in the background, it'd straight be the mall one, the old mall pictures.
Oh, that's funny,
the one in the food court.
Yeah.
You
just see make a little fuzzy and put purple and white.
Not even Sears.
There you go.
Don't make me open up Photoshop. I can do this while we're talking.
Do it.
The old food court ones. That's it. Hey, with everybody in the pit right now, we've always appreciated you guys, and it has grown. So I would like to know for this special episode, as we're getting into our old stories and like that, I want to know from the listeners in the pit and like that, or Facebook, wherever you're from, where did you discover us? How? How did you discover us?
Why?
And then why did you want to keep coming back every week? But
why did you
discover us? Yeah. How did you discover us for reals? Because I always like to hear that a lot. I mean, because we have, our regulars here a lot, Gordon, Papa, Miss Sunflower now. There was ones at the beginning, Santo 1414. There's a lot of regulars who pop on now, which is great to say. I mean, just look at our with Patreon people, that's awesome that we even have that subject. And so it's cool. And for those who don't know, I mean, you can send a super chat. I'm just saying, but it's there. But
how much do you appreciate us?
Yeah, 1,700 people following us and subscribed now. I saw that there. Right? We hit 1,700. Remember when we were fighting to get into the 100? And then that was like it was never going to happen.
Just so we could get our own URL. That's all we needed. We needed 100 subscribers so we could get youtube.com/Sarlacc Digest Podcast.
Yeah.
And then it was such a celebratory moment. It was so great.
Yeah, we do that, and then our road to 1,000 was
that was fun.
Insane and fun. Yeah. Don the Dad Door and Scott forced me. He does that a lot. He forces a lot of people to listen to things.
It comes
one
on.
of my
It comes on
coworkers
in Don's house automatically on Wednesdays at 8. Just everything turns on. He has it all programmed. Every computer, the phone, the TV.
No matter what he's doing,
there's no choice.
Yeah. Crystal E was absolutely to see the progressive of male pattern baldness going on, and then there's Scott. So
we're okay.
And then there's all these baldness, and then there's Scott and Mike. Mike had a beautiful head of hair too. So
Mike's got the best hair.
Mike looks like he's 24.
That's what he's
going for. He still got no gray hair.
No, he doesn't. I don't think he ever will.
He's got 37 children. I don't understand.
Yeah. It's unreal.
How does that happen?
Miss Sunflower, the Force guided me to you guys.
That's
no
cool.
cringe. That's a great answer. I love
it.
That's
fine. We got
Papa Schmitty. I came with Ernie sometime during the whole pandemic shenanigans. Love the theory crafting and Mando. Yes. I know a lot of faces from, like I said, They're Not Dolls, Ernie's show and Josh Chaney and those guys are enablers like to the nth degree, and I love it because every time I watch one of their podcasts, I end up spending money. No doubt. Yeah. So, but I see a lot of people that from the RLU days, right? That when RLU was at its hype and everything. And so I love the fact that we share different podcasts and different kind of lifestyles there. Lunar Girl, of course. I joined Red 5 with the Sidebar Cantina in July 2021. Found you guys through them. Yes. And we are, of course, through Lunar Girl and through, everybody from the Red 5 network. Now we're part of that family. And Lunar Girl does such an amazing job promoting Red 5 in general. She's on us. If we're silent, she's like, guys, what's going on? You got a show tonight? What's the subject? And keeps us on our toes, and she's been on our show. We brought her in live a couple times, and we'll definitely do that again because you're like Lunar Girl is an asset. you're like the biggest asset that we have outside of our other other networks and all that too. So Matt Logic found the high desert homeboys while scouring the sands of Tatooine.
That's us for sure.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Was it Ernie? This is Ernie handed me a card. Is that true, Ernie? That's how Gordon.
That's awesome. For toys.
I've told you the spokesperson, man. Ernie's not afraid.
Just give us a chance.
Yeah, hey, you got it. Did you? Was there a $5 bill underneath that card? It's like
it's all about the Washingtons.
Here, I'll get it for you. Yeah, man, it was cool. I remember that day, the very first day of the episode 1 thing. And then, I'm trying to calm down Joey and Mike. Like, look, it's just going to happen. There ain't no turning back. They're here. This is how it's going to be. And
then I remember podcasting with you and Cheney. That was my first taste of it with They're Not Dolls. That's what actually gave birth to Bootleg Joe. I got my name from there.
Yeah, because we were getting everything.
That's from buying bootleg
toys.
All the toys. Yeah.
Like, that's a bootleg. That's a fake, right? I'm like, it is.
Yeah. I'm like, that's why you got it for $20, Joey.
Works for me,
right?
Oh, man.
So
yeah. And then I went through all my stuff in life, and so I'm like, dude, I ain't losing Star Wars. And I was hanging out with Joey and Mike, and they're like, hey, let's do this. Because I would tell my stories of. You don't understand, like, you got to wait for a Star Wars movie. And so Joe was all hyped. And then, I told him, and then you guys were already there and everything like that. We're going through the day. We were chit-chatting back and forth. But I remember, Chris, you were trying to have your moment still. And you're like, look, sorry, man, we're here. This is it. I mean, I have the first 100 tickets. And I was
we do. And we had it.
Okay. I can't hold back no more. And I'm like, are you sure about that, buddy? And he's like, no, I do. And I'm like, I don't think so, man. I said, you got to be a little bit hardcore than that. And he's like, look, man, I've been doing this forever. I had the first 100. I said, why don't you look at your ticket numbers right now? And I remember he looked down and he was like, "Oh, what?" And I pulled out number 1 in front of everybody, and the crowd went crazy that was listening to us. And I was like, "Nice try, man." And that's when I walked away. And I was like, "Joey, just let him have his 99 people in there."
Yeah.
All right.
He still walked away 101 in line, right?
That's he's still number 101 in line.
Yeah.
And
The thing that sucks was we had such a good time really talking with each other. I'm like, oh, they'll let us cut. They'll let us cut.
Yeah, I remember Joey
Remember
said that, and I'm like,
because we were like, oh, we're cool with them. It's just
cool
like, what, 5 of us? They'll let us go ahead. Nope, Chris said, back in line. We're like, I thought we were friends.
And then Joey pacing back and forth. It's really 100? I'm like, yep. Every time.
Yeah. Yeah, we had seating charts.
We did, man. We did. You know,
but man, I took that same group to see Avengers. It was Age of Ultron, and we went to the mall and it stopped. Something was the volume wasn't going during the very intro, during the snow scene, the watch your language stuff, right? Right. Oh man, I went out there and threw a fit. And were you with me at that point? Were you with me?
No, I don't think I was there at that moment. No.
Oh, so I was going back and forth, and they didn't want to help us or do anything. I'm all, they're all, we're going to get the volume on right now. I'm all, you're going to restart it. They're all, we're not going to restart it. Blah blah blah. You're going to move us into a different theater, then we're going to restart it in that one. And they're all blah blah blah. I remember walking in there. I said, "Nightmare up, man!" 30 kids at one time, and a whole mess of adults I didn't even know got up and followed me out into the other theater and got over there and got to watch the whole thing from get-go. Man, that's funny.
Yeah, Chris is our enforcer. Everywhere. Chris is definitely our enforcer of the group.
Yeah, you don't mess with me in a movie, dude. We're getting this done. Now, you're not giving me refunds because it takes a lot of work to get 97 people together, right? Yeah. So I don't want to hear about it. It's going to happen the exact way I have it planned.
With that, we started to grow. We became something actually. And I did my talking and got a connection at the movie theater, and we started getting our own theaters to do stuff.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
amazing. I love that part.
Yep.
Yeah, then we didn't have to worry about it. We still lined up.
It was so funny. We still, we got to the point where we bought out the theaters for Star Wars, a Star Wars show. You know, like for Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker and Solo. I think we bought our own theaters, and we sat there and we did a seating chart. Everybody had their assigned seat. And,
everybody by family, by who needed to sit next to who. You know, blah blah blah. It was perfect.
It was awesome.
Marco has to say right on my right hand side, or it's not going to be a proper movie.
That's true.
Every
Chris
movie.
and I dead center. Yeah, it's so funny. Like we don't talk. Like I don't talk during a movie. I am focused, right? But our friend John,
yes, there you go.
Our friend John, who is a member, but that's one who you never see.
You had the seventh member, that's the silent member, Force Goes John. Back in the day, he was initially supposed to do this thing, but that dude talks through the whole movie. So I think at one point we moved him way in the back with somebody else that we knew. Oh, sorry, John. You know, all the tickets were it was just how it was. Yeah, exactly. I am watching this with Chris, and because when we cry, we know when to leave each other alone when we're crying. So.
John makes jokes the whole time, and we're like deep into it.
Yeah, doesn't understand it.
Immersed. And I get a butthead going off over here in my ear. I'm like, God damn it, John.
That's funny.
He's always
Gavin Connor, who Scott knows, right, from The Cure. Yeah. So The Cure brought you, Gavin Connor, to us.
Yeah, he was checking out the Nerds with Attitude podcast. He couldn't figure out which one I was because I listened to his podcast.
Right,
so he checked out ours, and then Kevin and I started doing Nerd Tunes with our music podcast. And that's
awesome. That's awesome. Of course, the Federation.
What's up,
yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, guys. So I mean, like, you know, we're coming up on 200 episodes, 6 years doing this, and you know, we don't have a end date or end goal. We just kind of do this until it's not fun anymore, right? But it's always.
Well,
I think
the episode, Scott. I mean, you know.
Well, yeah,
I'm going to be dead, and there's still going to be Star Wars going on, so we're going to be able to be talking about it. So
I forget which episode it was, but it was back in
where I broke
Ernie's house. Ernie's house, where Scott came up with the whole, like, Chris was on a roll. He was going like blah 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 and this theory, and I was doing this, and we were talking, and Scott just kind of stops the room, that record scratch. You guys realize
that you guys realize that we're not going to be alive to see the last Star Wars movie. It's just going to keep going without us.
And Chris got I was like, I kind of like that. I understood the comment, and I was like, yeah, whatever, it's because everybody thinks they're immortal, whatever. And then Scott and Chris just shut down. Like, he shut down. And I was like, are you okay, man? Like, and he was just like, no, I'm not okay with this. I'm not.
As long as Disney keeps going, it's never going to end.
Me. It had you, when you're teared up and ready to like really lose it. I was like a mess. I was like, that's really jacked up.
Yeah. Chris,
why would you say something like that? I didn't want to podcast anymore.
I remember it. Yeah, he was really done. And I remember I whispered to Marco, bro, he's like, for real. Like,
he shut down.
Yeah, there's something wrong.
He shut down, dude.
I was through with it. That was like the worst Star Wars news I'd ever heard. Like, if they said the movies are done tomorrow, that's fine. The shows are done. That's fine. Whatever. I'll bitch for a minute. We'll just talk about what we have. But the fact that they'll go on without me, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I know, right?
That's why, like, dude, this. I'm hoping that we immortalize our thoughts and our existence on YouTube by just doing a podcast and having our voices out there in the ether. So.
It is. Which one I broke his heart on?
I'm sure it's in the title. I'm sure it's somewhere in the title. People cried during this episode. I think I put that in our thumbnail. It's on our SoundCloud, definitely, but it's probably in the 50s or 40s, something like that in the episode count.
SoundCloud
I'll have to try
has everything the Sunflower.
Yeah, because SoundCloud and iTunes has all our library, from the very first episode.
If you go back and you're listening to SoundCloud, don't judge us too harshly on what it was like back in the day, because there were some episodes that were just like, wow.
Yeah. Besides Hot Topic episode 4, still classic.
And then I mean, we even branched off and kind of like do little spin-off shows. We told Chris, like, it came up in a discussion, like, what, Chris, like, would be really cool is that if you did like a extended talk on what we brought up in the show, because we only have 2 hours to talk, so like if you did like a deep dive on a certain subject, whatnot. So Chris's Hot Topic is, but it's still something that happens
not really
periodically.
What it was. The thing was, because it was Rich from RLU was bugging me because he liked me arguing with everybody, and he liked me arguing on the RLU when I guest spotted on there. And he said I should have a sideshow where I just bitched about everything.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, and then I realized
start bitching, but then you like start theory crafting yourself.
Well, here's the thing too about podcasting, right? In the very beginning, and this was part of Mike's issue in the beginning, was you're almost figure you're a character. Right. And then you build this character over time, and it's what you are on the show. I do cuss a lot in my life, and I cuss a lot on the show, but I'm not as angry as I came off in the beginning. And if I was, I just probably needed it. Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was that point in my life. So when that was done, I was like, that's what Hot Topic was me angry, me letting loose, and me saying why people are trolls and blah, blah, blah. Right. And this is right. When I do a Hot Topic now it's more about educational. This is trying to expand on some kind of piece,
It was episode 63.
Okay. Episode 63 on iTunes and SoundCloud.
Yeah, the episode is called "The Story Will Live Forever." And what a week for Star Wars. Tickets for Rise of Skywalker are on sale now. Plus, our final trailer dropped, and it was nothing short of epic. Join the conversation as we break down, react, laugh, cry. Everything Star Wars.
Wow. There it is.
I have fun with the descriptions sometimes when I'm not lazy about it, and I just copy and paste.
That's such a perfect one.
Yeah. The story will live forever. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So episode 63. If you want to hear the Chris shut down, like lost for words, and just kind of get lost in. I'm okay with that kind of concept because I have the original trilogy embedded in my brain, and that's all I need. That's all I need. Like this is all EU for me. I mean, it really is. I know this is all new canon. Like you have the expanded universe and you have all this canon going forward, but I mean, we were alive at the pivotal time in 1977. So
yes.
Sorry, kids, we got the best Star Wars.
That's funny, Chris. That should be a T-shirt.
Story will live forever, but you won't.
Oh my goodness.
Episode 63.
Happy podcast day, guys.
So I'm here to bring you down.
Yeah, we wanted to kind of just do something other than theory crafting and line talk it up, right? Because we got so much Star Wars content that we can do that with. So this was kind of a fun little stroll down memory lane, as how two group of friends got together and formed a friendship, but plus something that we do weekly, and it's awesome. And I always said that was like the heart and soul of Star Wars was the celebrations, the meetups, the standing in lines, the whole thing. The movie is another, like, standing in when you're watching a movie, that's a whole nother thing. But that lead up to it, it's so epic. Like our fondest memories are the 16 hours before, the 2 days before, the 3 months before, all those things going forward. And the
anticipation, man.
And it's so great.
It's not the day of the movie. It is not. Well, the years talking about it are fun too. But it is the lead up, and that's what really sucks. Like we talked about that Last Jedi, that lead up between Force Awakens and Last Jedi was some of the most intense build ever, right? Or after Rogue One to Last Jedi, it was just like everybody was ready for it. Like Force Awakens was just enough. Nobody really hated on Force Awakens. The derivative part came up a bit, but everybody was past it because of where it was going, and we were okay with it. We're gonna find Luke and all this stuff, and then Last Jedi hit, and the internet and the fans and everything just broke.
Yeah.
It went way less fun.
Yeah.
And that's when it got really nasty.
Yeah.
And that's when Hot Topic went berserk too.
Yeah.
Everything. It was just fighting, because me on the internet was different then too. Because I was just on every page effing and playing, telling everybody they were wrong.
Yeah.
Defending Star Wars all day.
100%, man.
The world changed.
Miss Sunfire, did you really meet while standing in line for
Yes.
Force Awakens? Two groups of friends got together and it's yes, we did. That's a true story.
Listen back to the beginning, Miss Sunflower.
Yeah.
We
and another one, if you really want to listen to something, is our Last Jedi reaction podcast, because we did that right from the movie theater, went to Mike's house and did a last reaction podcast, and
there's 2 episodes, the lead up right before and the episode right after.
It is a weird transition. It's
spliced together, isn't it? It's just like, okay,
is it one episode?
We're gonna go and we're gonna watch
it.
And then
we did.
Like and then there's a break, and then we come back and we're like, what the hell did we just watch? And then there was an episode a week after, where we went back, all of us had gone back and seen it.
Yeah.
And then we gave we had time to digest it, and we came back and we gave a more in-depth conversation.
That was the most work you're gonna ever have to do for a movie. Right? Like, I mean, to have to try to like it.
Yeah.
That's what we always say. We never want to defend Star Wars. Star Wars should just stand alone, and then we just kind of enjoy it and put it in its place. And I think for 99% of it, that's what we do, right? We see a content, good or we don't judge a content, especially Star Wars, as good or bad. It's all right. Well, this is what we just saw. Okay, what's the impact of the entire timeline, and how does this work? Yeah. And then we do fall into the traps of good and bad later on when we have to defend it. And and that's what was making us upset about the whole Disney, the start of it, the stumble out of the gate was like, you guys are making content that we have to defend, and Star Wars is not a movie to us. It's gospel. This is a lifestyle. We joke around and say, like, we want to see a good movie, like something to go, that was cool. That's what the MCU is for. That's what it was invented for. That's like, that was awesome. But Star Wars, when we saw it, we plugged it in, we had to make it make sense first. And then trying to talk to other people who are just moviegoers, it didn't make sense. They're like, that's a terrible movie. I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Like, I didn't think about good or bad.
People.
Yeah. It's
not a
the
movie.
mom
this
jokes
really
at the beginning
happened a long time ago in a galaxy far,
it's gospel.
far away. It's history. Yeah.
We're
just getting little bits and pieces of history.
That's right. And we just kind of
history. Had I paid enough attention to history the way I do Star Wars, I'd have a degree. You know what I mean? I'd have
that 90s show. We'd be Eric Foreman, right? Eric Foreman is teaching Star Wars in the 90s show. It's so good. Oh yeah, no, of course, man. I mean, that's, again, when we say we live this, we live it. It's not even a joke. There's Star Wars and there's everything else. no matter how you slice it. And it really hurts me that people don't gravitate or don't understand that concept too. Looking at you, Marvel fans, you want your own thing, which is cool. You want your own thing. It's sorry, but Star Wars can have an episode tomorrow, and we have 17 things that will be embedded in people's household names. And I love you 3000 ain't gonna cut it. But anyway, I digress.
Let's bash Marvel for a second.
I had to because I see comments on there all the time, and it's just like when Star Wars is brought up, they were just like, no, absolutely not. I'm like, wow, that's on one hand, I don't care.
They're sad 3000.
On one hand, I go, that's fine because Star Wars is ours, and you can't ever take that back, But the other hand, it's like I think I did a Moochers Monday on this thing. I said, you wouldn't have what you have without Star Wars, and you have to give it props. Like to go in arms folded, and just because you don't like the fan base doesn't mean that Star Wars doesn't deserve its due. You know what I mean? The fan base is something else. So
hey, but Quantum Mania is this week, and that's Marvel excitement. I'm good for that.
Is that this week?
Yeah,
that's this week.
The premiere was last night.
Was it really?
I don't know. I think it's next week.
It's next week.
It's next week, right? Yeah.
17th. Yes.
The premiere was last night.
Sunflower.
Everybody's saying that it's amazing.
It looks good. But
if there was a Star Wars degree, we'd have a PhD. Damn straight.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Thanks,
Several.
I have a
And you got Dodd the Dandorian there talking
eras.
sports. Yeah. Now, what is sports? Go team, Don. Leave it up to Don the dad to bring it like to something
Score
grounded.
the goal unit.
Go team.
Win the skirmish.
All right, guys. Well,
he doesn't even like LeBron.
Yeah. It is what it is, I guess. But anyway, guys, here's our contribution to Star Wars Podcast Day 2023. I say we're gonna be around for the next 100, so that'd be awesome. That we'll continue this tradition, and as long as there's breath in our lungs, we'll be talking Star Wars, right? So we don't know anything.
To 148, that'd be amazing. Maybe
Star Wars might be something completely different by then.
Next Star Wars Podcast Day, I'll have a live action Thrawn to talk about, and I'll still be talking about it.
Maybe.
I swear to God.
Maybe.
Don't screw with me, dude.
That's funny.
I think this may be Chris's year.
If this year doesn't happen, it's not going to. It's just
I also think we're going to get a Hondo. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So we're going to get.
I wouldn't put money on that one though. I'd love it.
I wouldn't put money on it, but
yeah.
I bet we got a 75% shot at Hondo.
The Vegas odds, the payout on the Vegas odds for that would be probably pretty good.
Yeah, this is going to be a
lot of money to throw around this year on bets.
Exactly.
Well, that's Ernie telling us sort of that he knows.
I say nothing. I'm just saying that's a lot of money right there. Make those bets, people.
Ernie, blink twice if we should bet on it. It takes that blinking. All right, guys. Well, let's get out of here. Of course, we will be back tomorrow because that's what we do on our regular scheduled time.
Tonight is a 2-part episode.
Tonight, episodes. Bad Batch.
Yes.
Or tomorrow's episode is a 2-parter. So I've been hearing some things.
Hey, I'll say it on this one so you can see it tomorrow. If it's a 2-parter, that means episode 1's probably slow. Episode 2 is going to be great. And the last 3 seconds,
it's going to be a cliffhanger.
The last 3 seconds of the second episode are going to be badass.
Yeah.
And that's
when Omega pulls a rock towards her with using the Force, that's when it's going to end. So
decide right now. Bingo, one bingo card all night, right?
Yeah.
Oh, grab your bingo cards for tonight. Yeah.
But one bingo card for the 2 episodes.
Oh, yeah, right. I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Blackout time.
Double your chances.
This is our shot to black it out tonight. We're getting bingos. Nice.
This is awesome. But guys, so thank you everybody. Thank you for the Sarlacc Crew for joining us on a Tuesday too, on an unscheduled thing. Just kind of talk Star Wars, get these guys together, no problem. Everybody in the pit, thank you for taking the time and celebrating Star Wars podcasters and not the Jimmy Kimmels. They got their own stuff. Leave them alone. Listen to us. Listen to all of the great Star Wars podcasts. And there's a lot of them out there, by the way. So, so
Miss Sunflower. We're pre-med now.
Sorry, Miss Sunflower.
Wait another 2 hours, Miss Sunflower. Let it chill for 2 hours. Then
I need a pre-med shirt.
Yeah, we need a graphic, Scott, that has like a
pre-med.
Yeah, don't forget to be.
You know what? I think I might have to make that graphic.
Yeah, dun pre-med, and it's like making the borders red and just kind of like build it up a, flame background. Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
How much time do I think you have, right, Scott? So
wow, yeah. I might be able to make that work.
I know, right? All right, guys. Well, I'm going to kick it off to Ernie, but if you guys have anything final to say, now is the time. So.
Anyone?
All right, then.
No? All right. Well, thank you so much to you guys.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Try it. Thank you guys to you, the listeners. We wouldn't be here without you guys. Everybody in the pit, everybody who's part of the replay crew, listens to this later, or who has hopped on new and decides to stay here. We thank you for this 6+ years of us being together. We're coming up on 200, but please be sure and check out all of our other content. Like we said, every episode can still be found out there on SoundCloud for sure, and some other of your favorite listening choices. But YouTube, we had started too, and there's a ton of content on there. We've done shows in between, from Hot Topic to specials we did together, to toy reviews, to Moocher Mondays, to droid builds, to everything. Scott has all his reviews on there. I mean, there's a ton of great content out there. So it's not just this that we do weekly. Remember that, okay? You can find us on all sorts of things. Facebook, our Sarlacc Digest Central for 24/7 Star Wars talk, to TikTok with all our 1-minute toy reviews and more, Twitter and Instagram, and just everywhere. Just, spread the word. But most importantly, hit that thumbs up on your way out. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the bell for notifications, and hit all so you don't miss when we're on. And then go share your friends and tell them about us. And let's make it twice as many for next Star Wars podcast day. Let's do that. Don't forget, tonight's episode is sponsored by Tashi Station Emporium. Use your code word Sarlacc Digest to receive 10% off your order, with tons of new things coming on the way. And what is that? They're action figure stands like the guys are holding up right now. All different action figure stands as well, to action poses, to standalone poses, to much, much more. And we're talking all figures, not only Star Wars, like Scott was showing there. Put your Joes in some awesome scenes like card backs. They make a great display. I have mine sitting right there. Scott showed that off, and there's always a ton of Star Wars stuff up on there too.
Check it out.
Look
Mr.
at that.
T. Mr. T standing on a Star Wars or G.I. Joe explosion stand. Oh, yeah.
I'm making a
Why was he never
Mr. T?
Yeah, he should have always been in G.I. Joe, by the way. But anyway.
Yes,
I'm making one to go along with Sergeant Slaughter.
Nice.
Use the roadblock body, paint the vest blue, use those accessories, and you got a Mr. T.
All right.
Joe's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I can't wait for that.
Nice.
So again, use Sarlacc Digest at Tashi Station Emporium, and we thank you. Everyone.
Yeah, Crystal. Yeah, I don't know about that. Can you make one for my stupid big head pops? Maybe. Maybe. Yeah. As I think about it, I did start a bunch of things that you have to revisit. So it's possible. It's possible.
I think you should make like your Imperial walls and everything just fatter, shorter and fatter.
Yeah,
like make them stylized to where it works for a pop.
Make it she's here comes royalties, Chris and Crystal. So all right.
Yeah. Free.
No, you can have that idea. That's fine.
You did.
That's a good idea. Stylized.
And the thing with that is because they're just all one size. So you just need that short base to put them on.
Yeah. I like the fact
we had talked about it before where you had to leave a hole, right? So you could slide the base inside.
Oh, the base.
So you can't remember. So you can't see it. So you'd make like a scene like you would do the Death Star floor with a background, but leave a gap so you put those bases.
The whole thing.
Would you like it flush or just something that
to make it be
up?
flush? Yeah, so you leave it that deep.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
Oh wow, that'd be ridiculous.
I already don't sleep, so it's like I'm gonna revisit. I like the fact that awesome. But yeah, stay tuned, man. I am by the way, just want to say here, and there is gonna be a Tashi Station channel Emporium channel coming soon. That's going to be mostly advertising, 3D printing stuff, and the stands itself, but going into more 3D printing aspects of stuff, because I love talking shop. So I'm hoping to launch that March 1st, because that is my 2-year anniversary for Tashi Station.
Cool.
And
I do want best episodes is when you were on.
Yeah,
everybody loves that stuff. Yeah,
I do want to say, without the podcast, honestly, without doing this stuff, I wouldn't be in that venture. I wouldn't be collecting again. I would actually probably have money, but no.
Sorry.
But I love it. I love it. And again, it's something else that came from the podcasting world.
You guys ever just stand in the middle of it and start counting?
I've done that in the past. I haven't done that in a long time.
I mean, I stand in the middle of it sometimes just to admire it, right?
Yeah.
But then I start counting in my head, and then I start doing multiplication, and I'm like, shit. That's a car. That's
Chris. So what I did one time, I went to my Joe shelf and I started counting, and I was at I think they're like 30, 40, and then I go, okay, multiply that times $20 a piece, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can't do that no more. Yeah, I'm in thousands. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh.
That's what I mean, dude. When you're like 560 pops,
okay. Yeah,
give
me a break.
I stand in the middle and I just get pissed because I don't have no room.
Well, Scott, you sold all yours.
Yeah, you're out of room, dude, huh?
Yeah. You have no idea. Like, I have no room around.
What's behind Ernie is like a fraction of. I wish you made videos of that tour of the house, and
it's like your toy selection sneezed right there a little bit. That's all.
Just
a little bit.
That's the overfill room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
the overspray.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. So everybody, again, thank you, everybody. So catch us again tomorrow. We'll be doing this again, but talking Star Wars and Bad Batch. I'm hoping it's good.
Oh, the second episode is going to be fantastic. Let's bitch about the first one quick, and then we'll get to that second one. That's my yes.
Right on.
Gonna suck and be slow.
With that, guys, I think we're done tonight. Force user Omega and Scott.
Keep it nerdy, everybody.
Did you say Force user Omega?
He did.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Had to throw that in there,
Jackass.